And several schools in England are on the verge of closing buildings as they fear an irritated concrete is prone to collapse. This comes just days before the new term starts in the country. Officials from the Education Ministry claim there is potential collapse risk to the material with time. The ministry began warning about the risk in 2018. The material reinforced autoclaved aerated concrete was widely used for schools and college constructions from the 1950s to the mid-1990s. Before reports suggested as many as 156 schools and colleges contain this RAAC. They also requested school managements across England to vacate spaces suspected to contain this particular concrete.
Don't worry, we've been working on this a lot in great detail. We will identify the schools, we will have the teams of people, we'll be making sure that we minimise this as much as possible, and the school will be in touch. It's 156 out of our 22,500 schools, so for most people you won't be affected, but for those, priority for me is your children's safety, and that's why we're taking these precautionary measures.
This comes as millions of students in England are returning to schools after their summer holidays. Several education officials, unions and opposition parties have criticised the Tory government. They claim the government is not handling the issue properly. The Labour Party has even demanded the Tory government to release the name of the schools.
It's outrageous that ministers have known for 5 years now that a school collapsed affected by this kind of crumbly concrete. I've been raising for months the need for action, and it's high time that ministers publish the full list of schools affected and came clean to parents.
Several school principals across England are describing the situation as chaos. Speaking to British media, they listed their problems of relocating several classes. Well, to give us more perspective on this from the ground, we're now being joined by Julia Chapman from London. Julia, well, the fact is that the government knew about this for at least 5 years. What is the long-term strategy now that so many schools, over 150 schools, have been asked to vacate? How are these buildings going to be secured?
Well, the government says that the Department for Education will be paying for this aerated concrete to be replaced, but there isn't a timeline yet of how long that could take. And it comes, as you say, just a few days before pupils are due back in the classroom for the start of the new term, having wrapped up their summer holidays. It's a very last minute warning, but the government says the reason for that is that there has been new information coming to light in the last couple of weeks where a building with a similar structure had a beam collapse, even though it had been deemed to be structurally sound. So that has certainly raised some alarm bells. But when it comes to schools specifically, the government has been warned about this since 2018. In 2022, it sent out a questionnaire to schools all around the country, asking them to check whether they believed they had any of this aerated concrete, which is less secure than reinforced concrete. It's not as strong. It doesn't have as long a lifespan. And we understand that 156 schools responded. That was then later confirmed that they did have that substance, but not all schools did reply to the questionnaire, suggesting there could be more that are still at risk of some sort of structural collapse. But in the meantime, what this effectively means for pupils is that they are starting their school year with disruption. Some of these classes will be moved to other buildings in the school, possibly to other schools altogether or community centres in their neighbourhood. But ultimately, the concern from unions and teachers is that there may be some return to remote learning like we saw in the pandemic, which has been widely found to have a seriously disruptive effect on the learning of school children.
Right. Julia, thanks very much indeed for joining us with the very latest on what the government has to say all about this.